Hello, my already festive peeps. I can say that because I have been delving into my YouTube analytics and I can see you looking for those videos about Christmas already. I say already, but it's only 2 months to go. I think we can't even call this the Christmas creep anymore, although I do kind of like to call myself that, the Christmas creep. Anyway, I thought this year I'm gonna make a video about prepping for visiting Edinburgh for the Christmas season on time, which is now that you're clearly doing your research. Now, in this video, I thought I would kind of divide it into 3 parts. First one being kind of an overview of how the sort of seasons of the Christmas season are different from each other and maybe help you decide when it is the best time to come. Although if you're coming from abroad, I think that at this point you should already know when you're coming, but maybe if you're coming from within the UK, this could be helpful to you. After that, we're gonna talk about some events and things you might want to book ahead. So again, this is a good time to be watching because yeah, if you wait any longer, things will be booked out. Some of the events that I have been looking into in preparation for this video are already almost booked out. So yeah, keep watching and jump on those tickets while you still can. And the third part of this video is going to be all about the practicalities. So some of the things that I noticed last year and I have to openly thank past cat because she was walking around Edinburgh on Christmas Day with her European family who celebrate Christmas on the 24th, and she was making notes on what is open and closed on the 25th and how to spend 25th and the Boxing Day and all that. And I have unearthed those notes and used them to make this video. Oh, this is the coziest part of our house, so the cat kind of always ends up here, which is why this is also the hairiest bed in this house. Okay, so as promised, I'm first gonna divide the Edinburgh Christmas season into 4 distinctive parts. Because the Edinburgh Christmas season, I would say, to me, okay, to a lot of people it clearly starts now already because the Dome has put up their Christmas lights like overnight, like 4 days ago, which is impressive, let's say. Anywho, the Christmas markets are officially starting on the 17th of November. So to me, I always thought the sort of last third of November is already a part of the Christmas season. And it makes sense because quite a lot of, like, especially larger companies and hospitality places are already doing Christmassy things from that point onwards until often the end of December and sometimes even into like the start of January. So that is the first part. Then you have the first half of December, or you could probably say the run-up to the bank holidays. So, you know, the first 2/3 of December, which is kind of like the high Christmas season, and then you have the bank holidays themselves, and then you have the sort of time around Hogmanay, which if you watched my videos from last year, especially this one, you know that Hogmanay is kind of a big deal. So if you're interested in kind of Hogmanay traditions and all of that, go watch it, and of course all the other Christmassy videos I've made. But first, finish watching this one. This is your starter one. Okay, so end of November, to me, and I think to a lot of locals, can be like the favorite part of that season because like you yourself are not quite as overwhelmed by your own prep for Christmas, which, you know, if you're visiting from abroad, you're on a vacation, you're probably not thinking about it anyway. But to us, that is the time when all of the sort of Christmassy attractions are not as sort of overwhelmingly full yet. It's obviously not fully Christmassy just yet, but I would say it's like 80% there. So if you're, and I do get a lot of questions about this in my Instagram inbox, if you are wondering if the end of November is a nice time to visit, I say yes, because basically most of the decorations are up. You know, you have Christmas trees all over, you know, the Christmas tree and the portrait gallery, all of that. So like if you're here to do some nice sort of, you know, moody, Christmassy, atmospheric photography, all of that, then that is probably the best time to do it because it's not as busy yet. You know, people usually don't bring out like their kids from other cities in the UK to Edinburgh for Christmas in November. That said, if you're in Edinburgh for like the opening night of the markets, then that's gonna be busy. But overall, that like first week of the markets and the city in general in November is a lot more doable than in the following 3 weeks. Now that might sound like you should just do November and just dismiss December altogether. That's not true, because there will still be a lot of businesses, especially smaller businesses, who do wait until actual December to do Christmassy things, and especially if you've been to Edinburgh for Christmas before and you're looking for something more special to do that's like festive, but maybe not in that way that's like, that feels kind of chainy and too commercial, then December is really good for that. For example, the first thing that comes to my mind is that last year, Room and Rumors, my favorite donuts in town, they had this like donut advent calendar, which obviously started on the 1st. And yeah, that meant that every day they had a new festive flavor, and genuinely, I woke up every day checking their Instagram for like what donut flavor they have on, you know, so I can jump on the train or just like run across the city to grab my special one day only donut. And if that is the one thing that will make me recommend December to you, then yeah, it just is. That's obviously not the only thing that's happening on the sort of level of small local businesses. I would say another thing not to miss out on if you're here at that time of the Christmas season is that a lot of sort of small bakeries and cafes make their own mince pies, or sometimes even like stollen and things like that. But mince pies, I will say, very important for you if you're trying to take your travel to Scotland / the whole of UK to a new level. You have to come and try like a house-made, delicious, artisanal mince pie, because store-bought mince pies are already quite delicious, but like a homemade one, it's like you have to try it. It's so much better. It's so much better. So for example, Ante, and I think that in 12 Triangles, a lot of these places that are quite, you know, I would say like posh bakeries do those, and they're always really good. So yeah, again, last year I tried that and it was a revelation for me. So definitely getting some homemade mince pies. Ooh, also Tasty Buns Bakery, they're gonna be doing like a mince pie fest on the 11th. I think that they're planning to have like 5 or 6 different flavors, so you should check that out. Now, if you're coming for the actual Christmas bank holidays, then I first of all applaud your, you know, dedication to doing actual Christmas, because that kind of means that you're missing out on your own Christmas too, unless obviously you do not celebrate Christmas yourself. Sometimes cities around like Christmas bank holidays, and this includes even like cities like Prague, if you do have the opportunity to explore them while everyone else is celebrating, it's I don't know, some people might think it's like sad, or like it can get lonely, but like if you're with someone else, then it's just basically having the city all to your own. And it's definitely better than when we had that sensation during COVID lockdowns. So yeah, I think also like don't forget that here in Edinburgh, a lot of people do put up really nice decorations like within their house, but the decorations are usually quite outward facing. So like one of my favorite things to do around Christmas is to walk around and just kind of like peek into people's living rooms. I think it's quite a special way of enjoying Edinburgh and feeling like you have it all to yourself. And then of course the last part of the season would be around Hogmanay. Again, go watch that video, understand why it's so important here in Scotland. It is Hogmanay historically kind of like the December holiday, December, January, because, you know, in Scotland, that's the big one. So yeah, for that, you know, you get a whole new sort of piece of cultural infrastructure built on Princess Street for the street party, which is kind of like a festival. I'm going to tell you a bit more about that later, but essentially, yes, the traffic gets cut off. You can obviously go into the festival, but you can also just like hang out outside of the festival sort of enclosed area itself and just enjoy Newtown without any cars. From what I've read so far, there is supposed to be a firework. The thing is that like lately, I think that in a lot of cities, not just Edinburgh, the tendency is to maybe replace fireworks with like drone displays and things like that. But from what I was able to find out, it is supposed to be traditional fireworks, which I think that for New Year's is quite still quite a nice thing to do. I'm sorry, doggies. Maybe, you know, one day we will fully move on to just drones and like keep it quieter. But yeah, I think that is still what's happening. Now, I'm gonna pick up my computer because I do have a whole list of events and like special things you can do in this season that I want you to be aware of. So if I'm kind of looking down and reading my notes, that's why, because I don't want to miss out on anything. Although it's still, you know, this cannot be quite all-encompassing because there's a lot going on, you know, a lot of restaurants bring out special menus, a lot of, you know, event spaces have special events. Like, you do have to do a bit of your own homework for that. So I'm gonna start with the obvious, which is the Christmas markets. Again, video on last year Christmas markets here, but I do want to warn you that if you're watching that one, then it might not be exactly the same this year, because usually I find that every year or two they kind of like mix things up a bit depending on sort of like where the city lets the organizers put stuff up. I do remember when I was younger, when I was like a fresher cat, maybe like 7 years ago, we would still get the ice rink going around the monument on St. Andrew's Square, which was kind of like a circular thing, and it used to be really lovely. But I'm pretty sure that since then the city council basically said that St. Andrew's Square should not really have that much of a sort of a seasonal build-up on it. What I am pretty sure about is that that area around Scott's Monument is gonna be filled with kind of like the prime market, which I think is always the busiest one. So if you're visiting that bit and you don't like people, you know, just be prepared. Maybe, you know, you can bring some ear defenders or something like that. It can be kind of shoulder to shoulder, very packed. But there are areas of the market which, especially late November or like early December, will be a lot more friendly towards like people who might have sensory issues and who might not want to be this close to other people. As mentioned before, they are supposed to be opening on the 17th. There usually is like a couple-hour delay. I think that in the past there was maybe even like a day delay in one of the other areas. So on the 17th, I'm pretty sure that like the central Scott's Monument part of the market will be opening, but it might be a bit later than, you know, you read on the website, and some of the other areas sometimes take like an extra day or two before they fully kind of bloom into their full power. The markets tend to be quieter during daytime, which, you know, in December and late November is not such a long stretch of time. Usually, you know, it gets kind of darkish at 4 p.m. So if you can make it in there before, kind of during, I would say like middle of the day, just after midday, that tends to be the chillest. You know, if you truly want to enjoy what the stalls have to offer, if you want to check out the shops, if you do want to maybe do some like Christmas shopping or souvenir shopping, then that's probably the best time to do it. Then kind of as it gets later, people often come in with their kids and they close at 10. So you can imagine that there's that sort of time between, let's say, 8 and 10 when it's more people who are coming in to get some mulled wine. And one last thing, the only day the markets will be fully closed is the 25th, Christmas Day. Another thing that's happening kind of for, I think, the 5th year in a row now is the Castle of Light, which is this display of kind of like combination of music and projections at the castle. In my experience in the past years, you were pretty happily able to come up to the Esplanade and just see some of it without having to pay for tickets, because the tickets get you into the castle and you kind of like go through there. If you've been to the castle, you know what I mean. There's a kind of a little, almost like a spiral that you can walk through and enjoy the projections and the music. Again, seems like a fun thing to do with kids if you are coming like as a whole family unit. Otherwise, I'm not sure. I think that it's actually quite nice to watch it from the outside. If you have a long lens, you can even see some of it kind of from Princess Gardens. But if you come up to the top of Royal Mile, you will be able to see some of the projections after dark and hear some of the music, and even that is kind of special. So I think that you can do a little bit of it for free, and that would be my recommendation. Now, something that I do enjoy very much is Christmas at the Botanics. So you've been very likely to the Edinburgh Botanics. It's a huge park with, you know, a lot of like interesting little sort of winding routes. For the Christmas season, they traditionally bring out these illuminations. So basically after the regular closing times, which tend to be around when it gets dark, they open up for these pre-booked entrances to kind of enjoy the Botanics, you know, buy some mulled wine, coffee, you know, toasting marshmallows, that sort of thing, and you kind of walk through, and there's so many little like photo spots, and I would say that it's both great for people with kids, but also I would recommend it to people who are coming as a couple. Next on my list is the Edinburgh Hogmanay street party, which I've already kind of covered. I'm just gonna say that the main headliner this year is supposed to be Texas, who I mostly connect to their music video with Alan Rickman in it, which I always found kind of hot. Anywho, I might be going there this year for the first time ever, so I'll let you know how it was after I experience it firsthand. Pricing wise, it is £30 to get in for the street party and £23 if you are a local with an EH postcode, which is nice. I think that there's like limited spaces for the discount, so if you're a local and you want to go, make sure that you know that there are limitations on that. But 23 quid for like a big concert, you know, festival sort of situation, and probably like for some people a desirable atmosphere, sounds pretty good.
Uh-oh, I goofed. I forgot that my favorite part of the Hogmanay celebrations is actually the torch procession, which is this very epic experience. Just make sure you don't wear a jacket that you really care about, because that star does not wash out.
Another thing that's kind of more cultural that you can do is to get tickets for pantomime, or, you know, Panto, which again is a thing that I've never actually done myself. Maybe this year will be my first year. I'll keep you posted. Go follow me on Instagram, KakiBot for sort of silly goofs and art, and KakiBlog for just kind of blogging about my life in Edinburgh. I will keep you updated if I've done Panto this year, to give you kind of an overview. It's kind of a live performance that's quite kind of camp and draggy, and is usually based on like a children's story. There also seems to be a very specific set of rules for being a visitor of a Panto performance, which is one of the things that gives me a bit of social anxiety. But I think that maybe it would be fun to just like sit there and observe the locals, just like pull your best David Attenborough and just be like, oh, so this is how they attract their mates, by dressing as a horse. If you want to keep it more classy, then you should definitely look into booking a Christmas-themed afternoon tea, like the one we did last year at the Signet Library, which was probably like my favorite afternoon tea experience of my life. I love that it has a little theme. I love that the Signet Library gets a big Christmas tree. It's kind of like more dim than the other places where you can get an afternoon tea, so like that would be my personal recommendation to you peeps. But there's plenty other places that do a Christmas theme, obviously, like the other sort of big places like Waldorf Astoria or the Balmoral, but I imagine that even places like the Dome, which is a whole bunch cheaper than these three, something to look into. If you want to travel somewhere a bit further out of Edinburgh, if you go west, you can visit Jupiter Artland, which on its own is already a place that you should be visiting. It is this beautiful kind of like outdoor sculpture park, but for Christmas they do have a whole bunch of things going on. So like if you check out their website, you will see, I think that there's like wreath making and all of that, quite a lot of kind of like artsy craftsy things. Similarly, if you want to travel down south, just only like I imagine couple of tens of minutes on public transport, you can make it to Dalkeith. And Dalkeith has a country park, and the country park has this area called the Restoration Yard, I believe, and they also have a whole bunch of things planned for the Christmas season. So again, check out their website, look up what they're doing, a lot of activities you can do with your kids. And now we're getting to my favorite part of the events that are going on pre-Christmas, which is the kind of indie art markets and makers markets. I do have a little list, so I'm just gonna read it out of my computer because I would mess it up. And this is really important to me because one of them includes me and my wares. So if you want to see my face, you can come say hi. Anywho, so my list of indie markets for 2024. November 29th. The night market at the Biscuit Factory. Edinburgh Printmakers is planning to have a Christmas market event on the 30th of November and 1st of December. Support the Makers, who are based down in Leith, are also running a market in Portobello on December 1st. I will be selling my teeny tiny wares at a community event at Tasty Buns Bakery, which is kind of here close to Tollcross, close to Grassmarket, and that, by the way, is the same event that's gonna be having those like 5 or 6 flavors of mince pies. So yeah, you can come and buy me a mince pie if you don't want to buy any of my stuff that I make. Anywho, that's on the 11th of December. Also, Assembly Rooms are doing a Christmas fair. That's on the 7th and the 8th of December, between 10:30 and 5 each day. Fruit Market Gallery, close to the Waverley Station, is doing a little indie market on the 8th. And also, I didn't find anything specific about this, but last year, Out of the Blue Drill Hall in Leith has done quite a lot of Christmas markets, and it's kind of weird to me that they're not doing anything this year, but I would look them up, because at the very least, they will probably be doing some flea markets. So if you wanna buy your friends and family something weird from Scotland, then maybe get it at Out of the Blue Drill Hall. Okay, now to the third part of this video, some of the more practical stuff. We're gonna talk about transportation and a bit of weather, and also food. Yay! Okay, so weather-wise, I would say December is kind of low-key one of my favorite months in Edinburgh, which is a weird thing to say, because obviously the days are really short, and one can easily kind of feel a bit depressed by that. But usually December, out of all the winter months, gets the best weather. I do not know how we like deserve that. I always feel like this is perfect. So often it's actually quite still, quite sunny. It tends to be kind of colder than in January and February, but it's also not really as humid and not as rainy. Now, of course, this is Scotland, so I can't really give you any guarantees. All I'm gonna say, bring a hat, bring gloves, maybe earmuffs, you know, make sure that you are protected from wind. It changes very fast and very often. So yeah, but overall, I would say that combined with the fact that the night is kind of, you know, bedazzled with all of this decoration, December feels much, much, much nicer than January, February, and honestly, even March. So yeah. The other thing is transportation. As I mentioned previously in this video, I did have my family here last year, which made me kind of notice a lot of things that sometimes would kind of, you know, go over my head if I'm like cosplaying as a local. When my family was here and we did a lot of things the Czech way, which is, you know, celebrating on the 24th and just kind of having like a chill day on the 25th, I did notice, like, for example, the tram is not running on Christmas Day, which is so weird, because like when you live here, especially along the tram line, you really internalize that that's like the backbone of how you get around the city and the city center and into Leith and to the airport. So, you know, if you're traveling to the airport on the 25th, probably quite important to keep in mind that the tram is not going to be there for you. It will not have your back. It just doesn't run. Sometimes for the Christmas season, however, the tram company brings out like a festive tram, which is kind of decked out in little fairy lights and stuff. So that's cute, but maybe I would rather have trams running on the 25th. The other thing that is not fully reliable around the bank holidays is trains, because a lot of the sort of upkeep and like fixing of the train lines is scheduled for the bank holidays, because obviously it is kind of assumed that people will travel less than usual, which means that the people who do have to travel usually have to face more delays and such. Now buses, they tend to keep the city running, they're still on, and you can trust them, obviously, like they will be running at a limited schedule, kind of like, you know, think Sunday-esque sort of bank holiday schedule, but they're still around, you can still take them. And thank God for that, because otherwise, especially if the weather is not nice, you would have a hard time. So now that you know how to get around town around the 25th and 26th, you might be able to use that information to visit some of the visitor attractions, especially if you're coming from abroad, but maybe also if you're a local and you just want to do something alternative. Maybe you do not want to celebrate with your family because not everyone has that relationship with their family. Maybe you're looking for something to do to escape that. Maybe that's not the perfect, safest space for you. So if you're one of those people, then do I have some tips for you? Now, among the visitor attractions, a lot of them will be closed on 25th and 26th, but Royal Yacht Britannia apparently is open on the 26th. And I talked to a friend who visited Edinburgh over Christmas bank holidays 2 years ago, and she said that that was actually a really cool experience because nobody else was there on the 26th, so they had the whole yacht to themselves. So if you fancy to cosplay as a bit of a royal, then yeah, you should do that on the 26th. Just enjoy the yacht. I think that they do have some kind of specific Christmassy decor aboard the ship, so that might be kind of special. The National Galleries and the castle open on the 27th, so basically after the 2 bank holidays, kind of what you would expect. And the Holyrood Palace reopens on the 28th, so they take an extra day off. Now, to go back to places where you can maybe escape if you're looking for like a safe space around Christmas, if you maybe do not want to be at home. A lot of local indie bookshops do make sure that they're open for a couple of hours on Christmas Day, usually, you know, in the afternoon, maybe think like 11 to 4, something like that. For example, the Typewronger books and the Argonauts books on Leith Walk. So all of those are kind of meant to be, you know, this is not me giving you a tip for like a shopping day out. This is me saying that if you're looking for like a community safe space, the indie bookshops often are the place to kind of look at. Yeah, I thought that was really sweet. If that's something you need, then that should be probably your first port of call. And the last thing I'm going to be talking about is food, because, you know, Christmas and food, they go hand in hand. But if you're visiting from abroad or even just from another city in the UK and you're staying at a hotel or an Airbnb, you might be wondering what is the best way of doing something festive in a city that's, you know, mostly closed due to bank holidays. Well, if you're coming from abroad, then you might not be familiar with the British culture of ordering kind of like ready to roast stuff from the supermarkets. Now at this point, we are already, I would say, like 1 month into major supermarkets opening up their ordering websites. So like, you know, personally, for Christmas, I do like to order something from M&S. I'm not actually gonna be here this year for bank holidays, so I'm gonna save some serious bucks, because normally I just go insane and buy the 3 fish roast and things like that. Because I do like the idea of, it's kind of like turducken of fish, fish and a fish and a fish. It's really tasty. So you basically order a whole bunch of things, you know, your main, your sides, desserts, things like that, and then you're supposed to pick it up on a day of your choosing. They usually give you like the 5 days in the run-up to the bank holidays. You pick your slot, you turn up, get your stuff. Usually you have to like pay half in advance, the other half as you're picking it up, and they do guarantee that all of the food you pick up during those days will still be fresh and safe to eat by actual bank holidays. If you are staying somewhere like an Airbnb or like an apartment hotel sort of situation, then I think this would be a really fun thing to do. If you want to try some like British Christmas food, you should definitely check out these websites. Now, do not delay, because now that we're, I would say, like 1 month into the sort of pre-Christmas prep period, a lot of these order slots are filling up. So if you do want to like order a fish and a fish and a fish, or some sort of fancy dessert, or, you know, nice sides, then you should do it now. Although I also do not want you to panic, because in fact you will notice that if you go to somewhere like, you know, Sainsbury's, Tesco's, or M&S, like the one on Princess Street, you will notice that they do also stock these meals, these like ready to roast meals. Do make sure you have an actual oven and a microwave. they do have them, and sometimes when you're lucky, you might be blessed by the goddess of yellow stickers and get that turkey for half price because, you know, nobody wanted it, just you. If you want to eat out, then on the 25th, the likelihood of finding anywhere that's actually open is kind of low, as you will probably sort of intuitively expect. Indian takeaways, Chinese takeaways are the places to look to on the 25th. On the 24th, a lot of restaurants will still be open, but you most definitely need to make a reservation. And again, you will have to make it like now. Like it's definitely do not wait for when you're here to make reservations for any of these dates around bank holidays. Reserve everything as soon as possible. Like worst case scenario, cancel your reservation, but yeah. Also, don't hog any reservations, okay? I don't want to be the person who's telling people to hog reservations for Christmas. Don't do that either. Be nice, but be smart. You might also be okay for food. You know, you ordered from M&S, you got your fish and a fish and a fish, but you want coffee. You just want, you know, to hold a hot beverage while you're, you know, walking around town, enjoying how it's kind of half empty and you kind of feel like you have it all for yourself. In that case, kind of similarly to when I mentioned the Indian and Chinese takeaways, logically, same kind of applies to small coffee shops. There are a couple of coffee shops in Edinburgh that are owned by like Chinese families. The one that comes to mind is Triple Tree, which is on York Place, kind of close to the Piccadilly Place tram stop. They're not open for very long, but I think that they're open from like the morning for like breakfasty stuff and breakfast coffee into like, I think until like 2 or 3 on the 25th. And then, you know, don't hate me, please, but of course, some of the larger chains will, you know, be a practical place to pick up some coffee from. Black Sheep and Starbucks usually have a couple of branches that are open on the 25th. I think that the best way of checking out which ones are open is to get one of their apps. Like when you get the Black Sheep app, you can kind of like go through what are the branches that are close to you. If you're a local, then you know that there's quite a lot of Black Sheep coffees around Edinburgh these days. So yeah, that gives you quite a wide range of options, but each one of them will have slightly different opening hours, and some of them will be closed on Christmas Day. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Get the app if you want to double check. Also, from what I've read, I don't have any first-hand experience with this, but some pubs are open on the 25th. And quite often, you know, some are open on 25th for a couple of hours, maybe until like 4 p.m, something like that. And then they close on Boxing Day, and some do it the other way around. They close on Christmas Day and they open again on Boxing Day. I think honestly the safest thing to do, if that's something you want to do around the Christmas bank holidays, is to just go to the pub you want to, you know, pop by and ask. Okay, I think that actually gets me to the end of the list of things I wanted to share with you to make sure that you're fully prepared for the Christmas season in Edinburgh. One last thing that I'm going to mention is that, you know me, I'm an advocate for visiting Glasgow. You can absolutely pop on the train and visit Glasgow for Christmas, although I would say, like, their Christmas markets, they're fine, but they are kind of just as busy as the Edinburgh ones, and I don't think that they're quite as good. I enjoyed them, but I don't think that's the reason you should go to Glasgow for Christmas. I think the reason you should go to Glasgow around Christmas is either to just kind of generally avoid crowds in the other parts of the city, or to visit some of their indie markets, because Glasgow has a lot of that going on as well. When we went last year, you can go watch this video from Christmasy Glasgow, which almost nobody watched, because what's wrong with you? Anyway, yeah, if you want to check out that video, you will see both the Glaswegian Christmas markets, but also some of the indie markets. Hopefully this has helped you. Let me know if you have any more questions about your prep for the Christmas season here in Edinburgh or wider Scotland. Please do not hesitate. Leave a question down in the comment section. As mentioned before, I do have an Instagram. You can also always reach out to me there, although for sort of algorithmic reasons, it's sometimes better to just do it down here, and sometimes some other person from within the Kakibot community can leave an answer to your questions. So that's nice and friendly. If you like the information I bring you on the regular, and if you want to see more of what I do and kind of a bit of behind the scenes and bonus videos, I also have a Patreon page. This is the address for you know, like 1 coffee worth a month, you can get access to what is now about 11 or 10 bonus videos, and more are being added, usually on a monthly basis, when I'm not having some sort of mental breakdown, which also happens. Okay, now you go get ready for your Christmas trip. I'm gonna go make myself some tea, and I will see you soon. Bye. Anywho, gotta look at my notes. He's gonna bite me.
Yeah, you're being very like...
I just want to look at my notes. Oh.
It's all going well.
Entropy.
You're just going to have to not make such twitchy motions.
I just had a Red Bull. That's a lot to ask. He's so evil.